Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It Live. This is our bi weekly broadcast sponsored by the Harford County Health Department, Minority Health. And we are so glad to have each and every one of you join us every time we do a broadcast. We're excited. So, again, I am Felicia Hopkins. I'm a community health worker, and this is.
Michelle Peterson, also a community health worker.
Yes, and we are excited. We are in the thick of our third week of Black History Month, and we're hoping that during the course of this month, you were able to see some of our health history clips from Michelle and I. I think the first one we did was it was Henrietta Lacks,
Mhm.
and then which one did you help sponsor, Michelle?
Otis Boykin.
Otis Boykin. It was
Yeah.
great. You guys should have, if you haven't seen it, it's on there. And today, if you haven't seen it at 5:30, we are talking about Charles Drew. So please take a look at that. Our special guest tonight is a dear friend of mine, and he has lived out in Harford County for over a decade now, or more, with his wife, Denise Williams. And we are going to be talking about uh, a disease that a lot of us don't even think about or talk about a lot. But the Harford County Health Department wants to highlight it. We want to talk about it. We want to bring attention to it and educate Harford County members about the very important issue of sickle cell anemia. So, my guest today is not only a good community leader out here, but he is the president of the Harford County Sickle Cell Association of Harford and Cecil County in the Eastern Shores. I have said that wrong, and I apologize, but we are glad to have him. And we're going to bring him on right now and ask him a few questions and just to educate us about the importance of sickle cell anemia and what it is. Rudy Williams, thank you so much. We are so excited to have you.
It's an
Yes.
honor to be here with both of you, and you're doing a great job with the Harford County community. So kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. We are so glad to have you. And I just wanted to give a little precursor. I have met Rudy a few years back, and I have to say, when it comes to advocating for sickle cell in this community, you have taken the bull by the horns and have made some great strides out here for those that are dealing with the trait, those that are dealing with sickle cell anemia, the patients that you've already identified, along with legislation in different areas where it was needed. So, my first question to you, for all of our listeners, is simply what is sickle cell disease?
And I'll try to be non-medical with you, uh, just to keep it simple. Pretty much, sickle cell disease is a chronic hereditary disease, which happily has the mutation of the red blood cell. And how that mutation actually comes about really is when a male and female get together and both have the sickle cell trait, which is a gene. Each one carries a gene. Should they have a child, that will produce a 25 to 50% chance of that person having the disease. And I say 25 to 50% because all the literature says 25%, but in my almost 60 years of experience with sickle cell, that ratio has never been the fact.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, there's more babies being born when two individuals have the sickle cell gene. That's been our experience. Now, you can also get sickle cell disease if someone has the trait, the man or the woman, and the other person could have sickle cell disease itself. When that occurs, you're going to have a higher chance of having a child with sickle cell disease. So
Wow.
I didn't want to get involved with a few other scenarios, but that's the simple version of how it works. It's all in the genes. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later.
Yes, we are. So that is the main crux of it. And I know that at one point we had a discussion, and I think that we asked, and you answered this question, where is this, where has the disease been rooted from? Where does it come from?
You're really going to have me go back. You're going to have me go back.
Just a little bit. I know that you usually have this information right there at the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, I do. Well, it goes back. If you can everyone on this call, envision the Mediterranean. Envision all the countries that abut the Mediterranean Sea, all the way from Portugal, all around through India, all the way down to the Middle East and Africa. Take it all in. And what had happened is, back in the day, it was actually evolved. Sickle cell trait was evolved to fight off malaria, because in those areas, malaria ravages today the same way as it did thousands of years ago. And we're still trying to get a handle on malaria. We have in certain areas of the world, but still, it's out there. So for those who had trait, that was a barrier. You didn't get malaria. So that's pretty much the formation. And it actually goes before that, Felicia and Michelle. It all started with a mosquito, pretty much. When the mosquito was dissected and put under a microscope, it found that there was a certain element there that caused that particular development to occur, and then you have what we have today: sickle cell disease, sickle cell trait, and but it all started with a mosquito.
Amazing. That's amazing. And the reason why I asked you to answer that question, because we can't assume that everyone has heard this story, and we can't assume that everyone is doing the research to find out exactly how sickle cell has come about and why we need to educate the public about it. So thank you for that tidbit of information. You did answer a couple of the questions. I'm going to skip down to, so what is sickle? So we have sickle cell anemia.
That's right.
So what is it with sickle cell trait?
Sickle cell trait develops when that individual has the sickle cell gene that was either carried from the mom or the dad. That's how it gets pretty much transferred to the person, and that could happen in a family where maybe one has the trait. Out of 3 or 4 kids, maybe only 1 or 2 have the trait. It all pretty much involves the anatomy and the science, which that's going to be a little too involved to get into here.
Yeah.
But if you take your family for example, Felicia, okay, Amber has the trait,
Right.
okay, and out of your family, how many offspring are there? There's 3.
It's 3.
Right. So 1 out of the 3 in your scenario pretty much developed the sickle cell trait gene.
Yes. And as I just recently found out, the gene actually came from my father's side of the family. As I have a cousin and an aunt that have sickle cell trait. And this is just behooves to the discussion we're having right now. If we don't talk to our family members about our health, and we're going to talk about later our blood history, we are oblivious to know how to prevent some of these preventable diseases.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's where it came from. I had no idea, but now I do know. And those that have the sickle cell trait, when I did my research back when Amber was 17, she began to have phantom symptoms in her stomach. And she had to go to see a hematologist because we found that was directly related to her red blood cells and being hydrated. So if you want to share something about that as well.
Sure. There's studies being done right now on sickle cell trait. matter of fact, Hopkins had one a couple years ago. Okay, and that study was pretty much done on the effects of sickle cell trait and kidney disease. The ironic part about that, I was wondering why my creatinine was going up and down like the stock market. Okay, since I have thalassemia trait, which is the only difference between thalassemia trait and sickle cell trait is, or sickle cell disease and thalassemia disease, is your red blood cell is compromised too. But even with thalassemia, the energy part of the cell is compromised. It's less energy. So when someone has a combination of sickle cell disease, thalassemia disease, like our daughter, okay, she has other issues that pretty much come about because of the combination of sickle cell disease and thalassemia. So that's pretty much, and also NIH is doing one right now. Okay,
Yes.
so you have, if you know anyone who is interested who has sickle cell trait, I believe the cutoff is age 39. They are accepting candidates at NIH. Uh, I believe a flyer might have gone out, but if you need another one, I could have one sent to the Department of Health in the Harford County, and would like to encourage everyone who has sickle cell trait to be a part of this study because that's going to give us some clues going forward how we can eventually combat some of the other issues. Like you were saying, your daughter was having problems with her stomach. We know with sickle cell trait there have been some deaths because of sickle cell trait that has led some other parts of the body being affected by sickle cell trait. So again, it's all about the history that you're trying to do right now. You're doing a great
Yes.
job, and we need to do more of it. And I know you want to get back, you want to get really into it on the next segment of the podcast.
No, we're not in a rush. I wanted to add, we have that flyer. We posted the flyer and I'm going to post it again. So there's a flyer that is going to be circulated and you're going to see this. Those that are watching right now, if you know somebody that has sickle cell trait, please refer to the flyer that's going to be in our link. And you can also find it on the Harford County Health Department webpage under Minority Health. And if that link will be there and you can press it and get the information that you need. So please don't stay in the dark. You're not in this alone. We're here to support. And so that leads me to my next question. Tell us, it says, so the Sickle Cell Association of Harford and Cecil counties and the Eastern Shore, what have they done for the sickle cell community to date?
Well, since the association started in the 70s, let me give you the story there.
Yes.
The story was actually there was a young lady at Aberdeen High School. Her last name was Alexander, and she died from sickle cell complications while at Aberdeen High School. And there was a group of ladies from the Black Youth in Action who actually came together and actually started to put a sickle cell association together to honor this person's passing. Since that has happened, a number of organizations have gotten involved, like ABG for one. That was the biggest supporter, pretty much back in the 70s, 80s, and through the mid 90s. Also, a lot of private institutions got involved for donation. The walkathon, the first 26-mile, and then that was done for a number of years until they had to lessen it because people were falling out. It was too long.
Wow.
But there's a lot of support of that walkathon, and a lot of the proceeds went back then to Johns Hopkins Hospital, Howard University Sickle Cell Research, and also to help some of our warriors with and their families that were affected by the disease. However, I think the golf outings to raise money and the galas were great, but we decided to go in a different direction in 2018, which Felicia, you remember that because you were at that meeting at the Green Turtle.
Yes.
So that was a meeting where we had over 40 people showed up, okay, And why they showed up was twofold. Number one, we knew we had to go in a different direction with sickle cell, but secondly, we partnered with the Harford County Caucus of African American Leaders,
Hmm.
where at the first meeting of the caucus, Denise and I shared our story about some disparities as far as health and taking care of sickle cell uh, patients at the local hospital in Harford County. So when that happened, we decided to focus on one idea and one idea only. How do we improve sickle cell patient care
Yes.
in the ER, on the hospital floor? How do we do everything that we can to help the warrior uh,
Hmm.
uh, battle this disease? Because, as you know, there's no cure. Uh, Not everybody can pretty much manage gene therapy. You got to have a
Right.
donor. Not everybody can handle the complete breakdown of your immune system even before stem cell and bone marrow can even happen.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so that takes out a lot of people over 30. The only time they actually will have someone over 30 consider this type of therapy if it's pretty much a last resort. There's nothing else to do, and the person has no other choices. But the
Right.
mortality rate is so high, but
Right.
so it is discouraged. And yes, we are working on gene sequencing right now. That's a technology where we take that gene that's been highlighted, okay, through the science, through the chromosomes and whatnot,
Right.
and trying to reverse it. And that has proven successful. We need to know more about that because the first question I have is, if you do that, do you need to break down the whole immune system? And I haven't been able to get that answer yet, but I'm working on it. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that we're working on. And then there are some other therapies like apheresis blood exchanges, which my wife is on.
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, with sickle cell, one size doesn't fit all. So what may work for my wife may not work for Joe who has the same disease, SS.
Right.
So that means that we have to be more versatile and understanding of people with sickle cell, what's going to work as far as medications and therapies. It doesn't work for everybody. So,
Yes, and I wanted just to interject right there. I need people to really understand what Rudy is saying is that I know that some conversations that I have with people, isn't there a cure? There's a cure for sickle cell. And so you have to understand for the younger generation, as invasive it is to do gene therapy, the our older sickle cell warriors will not be able to withstand the process of having their immune system taken apart and built back up again to get a cure.
that's good. That's
So you
correct.
have to do your research and really, when you're making statements like that, understand the perspective of the patient that you're talking to when we're talking about different therapies and even blood transfusions, which we'll get to that in a minute as well. But I also wanted you to mention, Rudy, about the boards that you presently sit on and the work that you've done for Harford County, of which we know that you've gotten some awards for.
Well, uh, we're blessed. Remember now, these awards really are a culmination. These awards are a collaboration of a number of people who have helped us all along the way, particularly since 2018. That's
Mhm.
when we really got more traction with the association and people identifying with what we do, as
Mhm.
opposed to identifying with a golf tournament, with a walkathon or whatever. We're actually having a strong impact for the patient here in
Yes.
Harford County. And I have to be very honest with you. The old adage is you never get a chance to make a first good impression. So if our warriors went through some of our medical areas here in Harford and Cecil counties, if they weren't satisfied, they're going somewhere else.
Going somewhere
So
else.
unless they have no other choice, and right now we want to give our warriors choices,
Mhm.
which we have with our call center that Dr. Sampson has put together in 2021.
Yes.
Um, and So yes, I am not going to talk about my awards because my awards really have a lot to do with how we work with our warriors here. So I've been blessed to get recognized. I just got another one. I got an email today. Somebody had to tell me that there was an email in my queue about something from the department from the state of Maryland, which I
Yes,
haven't even read it all yet. And I was getting all these emails about congratulations. I says, "You're not talking about the same thing that we did back in October, are you?"
it's
So,
different.
so this is different. So, and I apologize. I need to get caught up on that. I'm just happy to be recognized, but it doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with really the community that we're serving, and I'm so happy that people are are are, are actually uh, helped,
Hmm.
for lack of a better word, from what we do as an association.
Absolutely. And as he said again, Harford County has a wonderful sickle cell association and community that is here to service you and help you. So there'll be information on how to reach out to Rudy Williams and his team members to be able to be educated, or if you need help, if you are a sickle cell anemia patient or sickle cell warrior, the association is who you need to reach out to. This is the face of sickle cell right here, Rudy Williams out here in Harford County. And we will have that information listed for you. Um, Also on our page, you can press, again, the Harford County Health Department page. You press on Minority Health, and we will have the flyer and a pamphlet that you can utilize for future reference. And those of you that are also listening and you say, well, hey, I don't have sickle cell, so this doesn't affect me. You never know who you're going to run into. You never know who you're going to talk to. And it's very good to educate yourself and have that information handy. Let them know, hey, I heard that there's an association out here. Go to the Harford County Health Department, and they have information about sickle cell for you to educate yourself. And also, Rudy, we're still at the second part, and Michelle, I know that you had a question, as a
Yeah.
couple of questions as well, so you can take it from here.
Well, what I wanted to say was thank you for this information. I've been living in Harford County for about 14 years, and this is the first I'm hearing about any sickle cell association, honestly. Um, I have 6 children, and my last child was diagnosed with the trait when she was born. And the funny thing about that to me is we were told that she had the trait, and now she's about to be 5, and I've never heard a doctor mention anything else after that. Didn't refer me to anywhere to get any information or anything like that. And I find it weird because I'm hearing now that even having a trait, you have to be a little worried that, something could happen in the future. And I think that having that education prior would be better than waiting till that time, at least being aware of what I have to come in the future. So I really thank you for this information because I had no idea that the trait was even serious because my doctor didn't make it seem like it was.
And
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you for sharing that. I want to share some other information about the trait since you brought up that great point. We have a bill in the legislature right now that we're trying to, once the infant is screened,
Hmm.
that triggers to have that family get genetic counseling for that individual as they go through those maturity years,
Hmm.
before the age of 13. Okay, I think that's where the age, which is set, I believe, the language, some of the bills. Also, what we're going to do is we're not going to be waiting for the state because we know that laws are passed, but laws are passed and no funding is attached to the bill. So we're going to take it upon ourselves. The association is in the process of writing a grant that we're going to be offering that kind of counseling to our people with sickle cell trait. Uh, and also, what we're going to do is we're going to be offering testing. Since right now we're not allowed to test in the state of Maryland at any non laboratory venue, we're going to contract either with LabCorp or Quest, and the association is going to pay for it. We're going to pay for the test, which is only a finger prick, the test for sickle cell trait. So we're in the process of putting that all together. We want to use a venue. I haven't been to the board of directors yet, but we want to use a venue, okay, here in Harford County to have a pretty much a resource center for sickle cell, which will serve Harford and Cecil, and we're going to ask our fellow brethren and sisters on the Eastern Shore to actually have the same process there, because there's more sickle cell patients and there's more people with sickle cell trait on the Eastern Shore, 5 to 6 or more times the amount of people that are in Harford and Cecil. So we have a challenge in our hands right now to get this resource center here in Harford County, and also for our people, our brothers and sisters on the Eastern Shore who need this type of education and resource center.
Absolutely.
Good.
Rudy, this is such good information. I'm telling you, I would behoove everyone to just listen and hear what's being said. We, the association does not only serve Harford County, but Cecil County and the Eastern Shore. So the connections is still building. I know during the pandemic, it was hard for us to make the inroads that were needed, but full steam ahead. The work is still being done, and it leads me to our next questions about what is the importance of blood history? What is that? What does that mean? Why is that important?
I'm so glad you ladies brought that question up because, as you may or may not know, sickle cell is one of the few chronic diseases in the world that can actually be eliminated through education.
Wow.
Again, it all has to do with knowing your blood history. That's one of the reasons why we're so adamant about testing everywhere in the state of Maryland. Wherever we have a health a community venue of any kind, we want to be able to test, because by doing that, that gives the individual who has the trait some choices. But in order for you to get choices in life, you have to be aware, you have to be educated. So our job right now as an association is to make sure our youth, the ones who may be physically and sexually active right now, to know your history, because you have a choice in the matter. And I think the more that you know what you have, the better. And I know we're going to get into this about the blood, but what I'm saying to everybody, also non-African Americans, okay, sickle cell affects less than 10% of non-African Americans in this country. Just because someone looks like somebody else, you can't really tell what their blood history is.
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to make sure that you know what it is, so you can take advantage of some of the resources that we have, and also you have a direct bearing on some outcomes of how certain individuals are born.
Right.
I'll take myself. I didn't find out I had thalassemia trait until Denise was pregnant. So what happened was we didn't have. Denise said, "I'm having one child," and that's it. So we just rolled the dice because we know the child was going to have sickle cell thalassemia. We already knew that. Okay, but for other people who know in advance, that actually allows you to make a choice in the matter. We want to make sure that we give our youth and our young adults the choices, because that's one way how we can get this number down. So anyway, that's our biggest hot button right now.
Well, and that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk, and then the other question along with that, Rudy, is the test to get to know your blood history. Is that covered by insurance? How would they go? Do they go to their doctor to get the test done? or is it done at birth, or
Great question. First of all, if you're born in the state of Maryland, and I believe all states pretty much have infant testing right now, uh, the key there is that result is not going to go to the parent or the parents unless you have a provider.
Mhm.
If you are born and you don't have a provider, the information goes into cyberspace. The
Wow.
state, the state doesn't take any action, and that's what we're trying to change in the legislature. Okay, same thing with the disease. If the person is diagnosed with the disease at birth and there's no provider, the information just goes into
Yeah,
cyberspace.
you have to have a provider. Listen to that. You have to
Right.
have a steady medical provider, so
Yes.
that information is logged and tracked.
And
So, of course, the Harford County Health Department will help you if you do not have a provider, um,
that's
to
great.
make sure, especially when you're pregnant.
That's great. And I have to tell you, at health fairs when we had them prior to the pandemic,
Mhm.
I would be there and I would ask a question with the parent or the parents who were there at the health fair. Do you remember what your son or daughter? Do you remember if you got the results back from the state of Maryland? And
Mhm.
the majority of them forgot
I forgot.
what their child had, or even if they got the document. Okay,
Mhm.
what we do is we can't assume anything today.
No.
A finger prick, and to answer your question about insurance, Felicia, which is a good one. Okay, most health insurance, if you have insurance, will cover that test, but we're not taking it a chance. The association is going to pay for the test. If you don't have insurance, okay, we're going to pay for it, and that's what we're about to do right now. Is write a grant. We're not going to wait for the state. Okay,
Mhm.
we're going to send you to either LabCorp or Quest or any organization that will actually take us and actually have a referral. We're in the process of possibly hiring a community health worker, okay, as part of our association to address this most important issue right
Yes.
now.
It's
So,
absolutely important.
yes,
Absolutely. And Rudy, that is so good. Again, I always said Rudy is one that does not wait around. He will take the bull by the horn and get it done. So whatever he has to do to get it done. So listen, again, if you don't know your blood history, you're a teenager, an adult, you have grandkids on the way or have grandkids, um, you need to get a hold of your provider, get your blood tested, and find out what your grandchildren have, what you have, or as a teenager, and the association for those that do have sickle cell trait or sickle cell anemia. Um, you can be tested, and they're working on that now. So please stay tuned to our page to find out how that will progress. Our next question is: we're talking about blood history. We're talking about um, giving blood. We know sickle cell warriors need blood transfusions at some point in their journey. Um, please talk to us about how important it is not only to give blood, but what type of blood is more important to a sickle cell warrior. Period.
well, for a warrior, uh, any blood will suffice. That's where we break it down. However, what we have found is when you have certain people of color have certain ingredients, if you will, components that actually will help the warrior get through his crisis and so forth. Not to say that anyone else's blood cannot help, it will help, but actually it will help more for that warrior to get people of color's blood. And I want to take another moment to talk about the blood itself. Can't assume that non-African Americans don't have the same components. They may have some components in their blood. So that's why when we have you go to the Red Cross, we encourage everybody to have their blood blue tagged. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about blue tag, and I'm also going to talk to you about the person who actually uh, took the bull by the horns, as Felicia likes to allude to. Miss Miosha Hudson, who's no longer with the Red Cross. She's the
Yes.
one that came up with the banking the blue tag.
Hmm.
And what happens is when you go in for a blood donation, you want to let everybody know as soon as you walk in, I want my blood blue tagged.
Blue tag.
When you go over to the desk and have your finger pricked to see that you have enough iron in your blood to give blood, you tell that person, I want to have my blood blue tagged. When
Hmm.
you get to the gurney and you notice that they're almost ready to complete your blood donation, and when they put that blood on your gurney, you remind them again, I want my blood blue tagged. So you can actually see them go over to where their materials are, get that blue tag. They're going to fill it out, and you're going to actually see it placed right on your blood. That means that at least you saw that your blood was properly blue tagged. And that goes for all people of color, that goes for everybody. Please get your blood blue tagged, because then your blood is going to be checked, okay, for all its components. And that blood will be earmarked to a sickle cell warrior.
Hmm.
And it happened to me this June when I was at the Boys and Girls Club in Aberdeen. I
Hmm.
had my blood blue tagged, and because of Miyoshi's strict adherence to the rules,
Hmm.
I got an email about 3 weeks after I gave blood that my blood was earmarked for a sickle cell warrior in Frederick County.
Wow.
So those are the kinds of things that Miyosha was really put to the forefront, and
Yeah.
we were successful in getting more people of color to donate, because our people of color do not donate on a regular basis for a lot of reasons. But hopefully, if, when people hear this message, Felicia and Michelle, if people know that they can help somebody in need, hopefully that will
Absolutely.
encourage others to donate blood. And
Absolutely.
if you want anybody to go with you, if it's a first timer, and by the way, Felicia, we've had three first timers, people of color, over this summer to
Mm.
donate blood.
Wow.
So that message is resonating throughout the county.
It's so important. It is so important.
If you need help, some of us will go with you,
Yes.
okay, to encourage you to give blood, which a number of us had this year in particular, because the supply is so critical right now.
And that is so important. And I couldn't wait to get to this particular point in our interview and our conversation. If you're listening, please go onto the Red Cross, their website, and donate blood, and do exactly what Rudy Williams recommended, to blue tag your blood. Um, I believe I gave blood a couple of years ago because I found out that I was too anemic to give blood. But at the same time that I gave blood, and they blue tagged, and everybody that was in there blue tagged their blood, when we had it at Ames of United Methodist Church. That was Pastor Tillman's church. And it was very important. So please, and Rudy, are there any upcoming blood drives that you want to share, or do you want us to tag it on our webpage?
Yes, before we go into that, Felicia, one couple important points before you give blood. Please make sure that you eat a lot of green vegetables before your blood donation, because a lot of our folks with the right intention, but when they got to the finger prick of their blood to check their iron, they were iron deficient. So that means they had to wait.
Mhm.
Make sure that you drink plenty of fluids. Make sure you eat a good breakfast or a lunch,
Mhm.
depending on what time of the day that you donate blood. Make
Mhm.
sure you have the proper nourishment in your body.
Mhm.
That is really critical. And keep drinking. right now. Yes, even if it means that you have to excuse yourself every half hour, it is worth it because what will happen is your total blood donation time will go down. So if you do all those things, but normally maybe on average, maybe it takes you a half hour or less. I know for me, when I do all those things and get some exercise
Hmm.
before I donate, that blood donation takes about 15 minutes or less.
Wow. Wow.
So please take care of your body before you give blood because the blood donation will go a lot smoother when you do.
So this is excellent information. I am so excited about the prospective persons that are going to go and give blood as a result of listening. And for those of you that are afraid of needles, I have to give you testimony. I do not like needles. I do not like giving blood, but I did it. And let me tell you, it is not as daunting as my mind imagined it to be. And you have support. They walk you through the process. I've been to other blood drives where the people are very patient, the nurses and the volunteers are very patient. And it was wholeheartedly a great experience. I just didn't eat enough on that particular day, but I know next time that to make sure that I eat enough and hydrate myself and also bring somebody with you at all to encourage them to do it because this is going to help the sickle cell community out tremendously and let them know that they are absolutely supported and what they are as warriors are doing, we want them to live. We want them to enjoy the journey of life just like others that do not have this chronic disease.
Felicia, you asked about what's upcoming. Um, don't wait for our association. Right now, our next blood drive that we are going to sponsor is April 19th at the Fruitful Living Church on Route 40 in Aberdeen. But ask your listeners and viewers to go to redcrossblood.org, and then when the screen comes up in the top right hand side, put your zip code, and what will populate are all the blood drives that are currently in your area. If you don't find one, use another zip code. You'll find them. Or you can go to 800 Red Cross, 1-800 Red Cross. You'll get a representative on the phone. He or she will actually tell you where the blood drives are in your area, just to make it more convenient for you. And I have to tell you, in Harford County, our blood drives are filling up real fast. It seems like as soon as they post one,
That's
they're
awesome.
full. They're full in a matter of maybe less than a day.
That's awesome.
And also with that is because our health community has been affected. There are not enough phlebotomists to go around. That's why some of the blood drives are only lasting sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 hours because of they don't have enough people to man or to handle the inflow of donors. So please continue to use that source. Felicia will be in contact with you. We just got approved by the Boys and Girls Club in Edgewood. We are going to be having a blood drive there in June. We'll give you
Hmm.
information on that. But again, don't wait for the months of April and June.
Yeah,
Don't
don't wait.
wait.
Just
Don't
go
wait.
on the Red Cross. And it's very simple to do. Um,
Okay.
Michelle had another question that she'd like to ask us all.
Yes.
I'm over here messing up. No, so the question I was wondering is when people donate blood, do they have to know? I mean, do they have to be like healthy, or can like what if they have like a chronic condition, or they have the sickle cell trait, or any other type of diabetes, or anything? Like, could they still donate blood? How does that work?
Sickle cell trait is not a problem. Thalassemia trait is not a problem. The best thing to do, and that's a great question, Michelle, is to call the Red Cross. If
Okay.
you feel you have a health malady, just call them and they will ask you the question and they will actually give you that information over the phone.
Okay.
We have a number of people who, for example, our last blood drive that we had in November, two individuals were on a medication. So if you're on a certain medication, some of those medications require you to be off of them at least 48 to 72 hours before
Good
blood
question.
donation. So we ask our individuals who are on medication, just call the Red Cross and just find out how long you need to be off the medication before you can donate. That's
Okay.
a great question. Thank you.
Okay.
May I
That's
help you?
awesome. And all of this information is very good because there are people out there that would rather you tell them than look it up themselves. So
Yeah.
here you go. Go to the Red Cross, call them if you feel as though that you might not be a good donor or good match. But those of you that you know that you're healthy and you know that you're interested and you like to help, grab a friend, sign up, and donate your blood. Don't we'll have listed what the association, the Sickle Cell Association, will do on our webpage. But please, as Rudy Williams has just stated, do not wait. Blood is needed now, and your donation is going to be much appreciated to a sickle cell warrior that's going to need a transfusion either on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So again, as we bring this interview to a close, we want to thank you so much, Rudy, for
Yes.
spending some of your evening with us. We're so appreciative of the partnership, and you are welcome to come on anytime for any updates when you're having health fairs, any announcements that you'd like us to make, and even bringing some of the other members on as we will later on in this broadcast to share their stories.
Great. Thank you, Michelle and
Yes.
Felicia, for having me this evening. And I would really like to encourage you to have some of our other warriors. So they have some rather unique stories, and I know sometimes it's so difficult for our warriors sometimes to carve out sometimes a half hour of time and whatnot because of their challenges. But keep
Mhm.
asking them, and you'll be surprised that you may be able to get a half hour window, and they can share their fabulous stories of survival because each
Mm.
one of them have a different story to share with you. And thank you for making this forum available to the people in Harford County.
Thank you again. And that is the end of our segment for Let's Talk About It Live. We also want to encourage all of you. We want to thank you all first for February 26th. Chef Catherine Brown, you can find her as Fit Famille, FEMMLE, on her Facebook page and on Instagram. She's going to join us at the Village at Lakeview on February 26th from 11 to 2. We are really happy to announce that we reached a max of 30 participants. So we had to cut registration off, but you are still able to join us. And all of those participants that have signed up will get a crock pot. We will, they're beautiful crock pots. They've already been delivered. So this is where we want to encourage those that when we have events and we're asking you to sign up, we want to not only encourage you with our resources, but we want to encourage you and give you things that will help you along your health and public health journeys. And also, we're real excited that she's going to be with us cooking nutritious meals in the crock pot. Michelle and I are excited. We've already got our little seats staked out for Saturday to taste test, and we're going to have some people come and join us. Well, they will be able to taste her delectable meals in person, and there'll be some prizes given out. So if you join us live, and there's going to be a game at the end called Cahoots, and you will be able to possibly win a prize. So stay tuned
Mhm.
and see what's going on. So again, thank you all so much and have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.